Hello. So I've come down along here quite a few times and walked with my dogs, and today I'm coming back down through here to do some video. But I have been through this particular area many a times, and there is multiple little splash dams or like little mill outflow controllers all through here. So I've come across it multiple times, and today I figured I would come along and video a little bit of it. But this is Whitney Run, and it is located at the very cusp of what would be Moshannon State Forest, and this is in ClearfieLd County. So we're gonna check things out. But this area used to be over here. We have like CCC planted trees and forest. I'm gonna go down through here and check this out, and each time I come to one of these areas I'll try to do a little bit of filming. But this is not an area that's frequented by people just walking. You might get some hunters down through here once in a while, but that's about it. So let's go see what we can find. One cautionary thing about today is when walking through here, it is not deep at all, but it's cold. So there are quite a few areas where it looks like it's solid, or it looks like it's raised up earth, and it's not. It's actually the creek itself. So where I'm at is a raised area, but just as quickly you can step into or through the ice and into the creek. And on a day like today, guess what just happened? I see already that I'm going to have to go back and look at my summer photos I have whenever Timber and I came down through here, because we have a lot of ice built up. This is one area. Got a directive log coming through there, and there's a board. We can make it out just slightly, and that board came all the way over to here. And I do not remember, I do not believe there was an additional directive log in that area. But it's amazing when you look at this area and you think that these are relatively small runs, and they were directing the water into these areas so that they could build them up into tiny splash dams where they could let the logs compile and then eventually release. This is a nice sample right here because we can see a little bit of the structure, and then immediately after we can actually see by looking at the landscape where it actually widens out. It's built up a little bit, and it obviously was an area, a collective area, where they let the water get deeper and probably had logs through these areas. And there's a lot of these, so there's multiple small sites as opposed to one giant one, and that's what we find quite a bit when we look on these very small runs.
Logs were kept in these dammed up areas after being cut for a couple reasons. They maintained moisture content, prevented wood from warping or cracking, and it slowed down the drying process. Of course, it also allowed them to build up the water deeper behind splash dams, and then they would release it, and all that water would rush and push the logs downstream to sawmills. Ecologically, these splash dams were really damaging. With the advancement in technology and wisdom, we've moved far away from that practice. So what other benefits are there to keeping the wood wet? Well, it is the most significant reason to prevent end checking, which are cracks that form on the exposed ends of the log due to the rapid moisture loss. Another thing is it also controlled the insect and fungal control, which allowed the wood to have a better quality. Keeping the logs wet deterred dead insect and fungal infestations that thrive in the drying wood and end up breaking it down.
I apologize, I'm not able to show you entirely. The water is a lot slower in this area, and therefore we do have some ice buildup. But up here at this far end here, there is one of the little splash dams, and it comes into this area, and as we're following the landscape in this area, we can see that there's a raised bank, and it naturally comes the whole way around. And this actually creates quite a big area when you go on the other side too. So it would create quite a big area for a collective area to dump the logs until you get enough water to flow them all the way down. This is one of those little outflow directors, and you can see it from this angle here. It's raised up, and the ice is raised up as well. You can't make it out real well, but
Same area from February 2024 until now.
so once again, I showed you the small splash dam that's built up from the ice. I showed you that area over there, which is a large natural bowl-like area that could hold quite a few logs. And when you come down here, there is a larger area that was a splash dam right here, and it's covered over pretty good, but you can really tell from the landscape and how it moves,
Or at least what's left of it after all these years.
So this is ClearfieLd County, and according to all of ClearfieLd County's history, as well as a lot of Pennsylvania's history in general, this area was heavily logged, and it was left pretty much vacant afterward. And the state took over and began replanting of the forests that are gone. But you can definitely see this is not a very big creek or run as it is, Whitney Run. So when you're looking at this, it's not very big, and it's obvious that they used every natural water source, every natural feature to accommodate their work. Most of all, though, we're going to come up to probably one of the nicest dams if I can get close to it, but best dam builders around. This entire area up here eventually runs out, and goes into a giant beaver dam. Pick our way.
Please note in the next clip, there's a muddy hole closest to me. Beyond that, you can follow dirty, muddy water under the ice. I identified this area as an entry and exit for the actual beavers, which is why the mud is so stirred up under that ice. So check it out, because it's very cool to actually see their pathway.
So they've been pretty hard at work in this area. And down there, there's a giant tree. I used to be able to walk all the way on land down to where that tree is, and now it looks like that tree's in the middle of a giant beaver dam. Let's see if we can get close. I think you guys heard me when I told you that I would try to get you down here closer. And I was talking about just closer to an area where I used to be able to walk to. But we had the guilty party of all this buildup. And there's our shindig.
Their shindig is actually called a lodge, and as you can see, it's a dome-shaped, has sticks, logs, debris, and it's tightly packed with mud. Usually has at least 2 points of entry and exit that are underwater going up in. The inner chamber is actually above the water line, and that's what you're looking at here. Up to 8 beavers can live in that dwelling. This picture is that same exact area from the spring of 2024, and it's above water.
So that was simply the tree I told you that I used to walk down to. And then at that point, the beaver dam usually started down there. But now we can see that water level is raised above the marshy field over there entirely.
Looking at this area and just the smaller, not tall dams that the beavers have built, it gives us an idea of what it could look like if you have a team of loggers and workers building up a containment area to float the logs.
So these beavers have this dammed up really well. Got a little lip here. They come down. And that's what I used to see all the time when coming down through here. Down there is a separate dammed up area. So that's what I used to see. They took it another good 4 foot. So that's Whitney Run. And a little bit of logging history in the form of what's left behind all these years later. Is there anything fancy about Whitney Run or anything striking that stands out? Not really. It's just another waterway that the logging industry used as a tool to float logs down and supply the industry with logs and make some money off it in the meantime. And right now we're walking out and you can look around and see we're in a CCC planted forest. So these were all planted in the 1930s. Large, long, and spindly. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you had a good walk, and I hope you're enjoying this from the warmth of a chair at home, because it's a little chilly out here. Cheers.
Timber Adventures thanks you for watching, and feel free to buy me a hiking boot. There's a link in the description, and there are rewards. Thanks again. Subscribe and share.